powerful statement when you say that the voters of North Carolina have said, we want her back again for the 8th term. She received the governor's highest award in North Carolina, which is the honor of the Long Leaf Pine. Congratulations, that was in 1922. That's based on a lot of things. And it's based on really a heart for how Secretary Marshall engages in and protects the citizens of North Carolina. It's not being this or that. Embodies a lot of different things. It's being a very approachable Secretary of State, which I've gone to her a lot for a lot of advice. It's being available. It's making their staff available. It's being interested from here to there. And I've seen all levels of it. So thank you. I don't think anything passes through her eyes. Passes through her desk by her eyes, Stephen. Under Secretary Marshall's administration, now more than 2.2 million businesses have been formed. And I'm gonna get this wrong. Was it 17,000 something last month?
May, but hold on to it. I'm going to talk more about it.
She's gonna talk more about it. Okay. I'll let you just talk about it. Okay. Since becoming Secretary of State, she has received numerous state and national awards for her leadership in technology, government innovation, and women's leadership. These awards include the First Achievement Award from the National Notary Public Administration section of the National Association of Secretaries of State in 2023, also named in her honor as the Jagger Marshall NPA Achievement Award, the 2023 creation of the Elaine F. Marshall Academic Scholarship from the North Carolina Notary Association, the 2020 Ray of Light. That says a lot, Ray of Light. We need more rays of light in our lives. The 2020 Ray of Light Award from Boundless Impact for her decades of work advancing North Carolina's global competitiveness, and the 2018 Person of the Year from the Women's Business Center of North Carolina, and was inducted into the North Carolina Women's Business Owners Hall of Fame in the same year. That's just a glance, a lot more. I would like to welcome Honorable Secretary of State, Elaine Marshall.
Thank you so much, Ken. Ken's going to get better introduction later also. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Maybe some of you are not knowing exactly what this was going to be like and decided, well, I'll come find out. And I find that a lot of people don't know what the Secretary of State's office does. It's different from state to state, and I don't do elections. Thank you. And whenever the talking head on TV around election time waves a finger and says, tell your Secretary of State this, our phones just blow off the line. People in this state don't really know, but in your packet, you will find several things about things that we do. Some are fun things, what have you. We are the state depository for advanced healthcare directives. We're the keeper of the state symbols. If you've got kids or 4th graders, 8th graders, or anybody, go to my kids part of the website, all kinds of trivia answers potential. We're the counterfeit enforcer, and counterfeit medicines are a thing. Online prescription drug purchases are not necessarily what they seem to be. There is a program that we've participated with called Verify Before You Buy. If somebody in your family is buying, say, blood pressure medicine, and they're trying to get a lower price, and they think they're dealing with a Canadian pharmacy, they can copy that URL, paste it into verifybeforeyoubuy.org, and it'll tell you if that pharmacy is real, a rogue, or they can't tell. If it's either one of the last two, you probably don't want to give them your credit card number to start with, and they're fake. You don't know what kind of drug you're going to get, what the potency of it is, all that kind of good stuff. This brochure tells you a little bit, and some telephone numbers, I think email also, about different divisions that we have. And the final thing here is an example of a newsletter that we do on securities. I'm the state securities regulator. All stockbrokers, licensed investment advisors, so forth, are registered with us, and this kind of document alerts you to scams of the moment, what have you. Okay, so that's a little plug for the office, and I'm very grateful to be here in the great state of Mecklenburg and this wonderful Queen City. Big thanks to Ken Syke, Senior Vice President and Senior Relationship Officer at North State Bank. today's moderator for our fireside chat in a few minutes, and our powerhouse panel of North Carolina's top industry experts who are facing small businesses today. We will tell you more about the panelists in a little bit. A special thanks to Dr. Caroline Blacken, Thomas Family Distinguished Professor of Entrepreneurship, for joining us from the UNC Pembroke's Thomas College of Business and Economics. Dr. Blacken was with Fayetteville State University last year and was one of the authors of the research that we're going to discuss in just a little bit. We're so glad that she could join us today. Thanks to each and every one of you, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the folks that are in the business of helping the businesses and the entrepreneurs. Thank you for taking this opportunity to be with us today. You will have an opportunity to ask questions today of North Carolina experts that will be making up this panel. The last 5 years have been crazy for all of us. It brought a lot of change. Some we might have predicted, some it was impossible to predict, but anyway, we are where we are. In mid-2020, at the office, we started experiencing explosive growth in new business creations. I call us the maternity ward for business. I walk along the back hallway and I'm walking through the maternity ward because every day we're giving birth to corporations, nonprofits, LLCs, and a couple other, alphabet soup kind of partnership things. And I used to ask Dan, how many did we do yesterday? And the answer would be 320, and I'd be excited and I'd tell that at the speech I was given, all that kind of stuff. This was before the pandemic. So if you'd asked me to predict what was going to be the business experience, the business growth during the pandemic, I just kind of thought it would be a little bit stagnant, had my fingers crossed that it wouldn't go really downhill. Don't let me pick your lottery numbers. I was absolutely wrong. Our data shows that over the last 5 years, North Carolina has been on fire. That's about the only way I can say it for new business creation. What's really exciting is that small business owners like you have the potential to lift North Carolina's economy in a big way. I'll share some important findings in a minute. We did a little bit of a slow start the first quarter of 2025 right now, but April's new business creation statewide ended up being the second best April on record. We're so excited. 14,561 new businesses in a single month. Only topped by April, our second record-setting year in April of 2021. So, boy, we're proud of that, 14,000. Well, guess what happened in May of just this year? This is what Ken was talking about. We had our highest month of new business creation at 17,377 new businesses in the month of May. Yeah, what that amounts to, you take the number of days we're open, business days, that's about over 800 a day, 800 a business day. I've got great staff, I've got efficient staff, I've got some good technology that we've developed during the pandemic. Otherwise, I would not have run for election last November. I'd have been drowned in paperwork somewhere in Raleigh just trying to find air. But processing that much per day is indeed a challenge. We finished the second quarter. Now, I said we were off to a slow first quarter. We finished the second quarter with a strong 17.3% growth for June compared to last year. So we're back where I hoped we would be. Because of all this phenomenon statewide growth, beginning in 2020, mid-2020, at the office, and only a few of us were in the office then, we said, who are these people? Why did they start these businesses? Was it kind of out of necessity related to the pandemic, or was it something else? And where were they located? All the demographic kind of stuff. And then key stuff like, key information like, where did you get your information before you started? What do you wish you would have known before you got going? What kind of other things? What were the barriers that I could guess what the barriers were, but this survey that had over 4,000 responses told us what exactly were the barriers. And we were the first, and to date, the only Secretary of State office who has conducted such a survey to figure out what's going on behind the numbers, and most importantly for me, how do we make these folks successful? With these entrepreneurs, we found a significant gap in the awareness of resources that are available. You're going to see in a few minutes that our data shows we've got a very short window of time to get these entrepreneurs in touch with the type of valuable resources to help them become successful. One thing you might not know is that I'm a former small business owner myself, so I appreciate the ups and downs. I know what it's like to make payroll. I know what it's like to have an account out there that's past overdue and are you going to get paid, on and on and on. So I'm talking a lot about, when I do these roundtables and talk to business people, part of it is from the data, but part of it is from my personal experience. We're labeling what has happened as the new era of entrepreneurship beginning in mid-2020. Our entrepreneurial spirit is why North Carolina's economy has been ranked the best in the country again. Somebody let Virginia slip in there last year. But anyway, and we had a little run before that. So on average, I mean, clearly we're number one, we're stay number one. So, but here's the reality. I'm a farm girl. I grew up on a family farm in rural Maryland. I know what it's like to feel like nobody in government knows you, there's no help, you're on your own, you're a second-class citizen because of where you live. And unfortunately, people in North Carolina feel that same way in some of our rural counties. There's a lot of prosperity in North Carolina, but it is not widespread. Because of the results of the survey and what we learned, at the end of 2021, I started this program, and we started it with rural counties because that's close to my heart and that's where I think the greatest need is. And we called it Rural RISE. RISE stands for Resources for Innovators, Startups, and Entrepreneurs. We started with one single county in western North Carolina. We picked that county because we knew the economic developer there, he would return our call, and got us started with meeting some small business people. Then we expanded to 14 pilot counties. Not all of them were truly rural. Some of them were collar counties, but I got a little bit of politics in me, and I know that when the General Assembly looks at things, they want to know, why didn't you do it in my county? So we selectively picked counties of important leaders at the General Assembly. Mama didn't, I'm not a genius, but you didn't raise a dummy either. So you gotta play your cards right. Okay, there are 78 counties that North Carolina has identified as rural. Well, we started mapping out what are the resources available locally in each of these counties and put it into a database. That research has gone to 93 of North Carolina's counties. The only 7 that are not in there are counties like the one we're in, counties like Wake, Durham, because the ecosystem for entrepreneurs in those counties is pretty widespread, pretty well known. The ecosystem when you get to Bladen County, Swain County, Northampton County is pretty thin. They don't know where to turn. And what's the beauty of this program is we provide them local information. This slide, are we on to it? No, okay. This slide shows new business creation since 1997. That's when I first became Secretary of State. The very first year, way over there, we did a little bit over 30,000 that year. And we struggled to do that because we had no technology. Things were backed up. Lawyers would send in, by snail mail, a corporation document or an LLC document, and then set their calendar for 60 days, which is what I did as a practicing lawyer, to see if it came back. That's how far behind we were. And that was unacceptable for North Carolina to be on the trajectory that it needed to be on as a progressive state in the South. So that's when the technology started to kick in. Fast forward to 2021, and you'll see the high point up there of 178,000 and change. And that's where we got. Ken told you about how fast it's taken to get these and how many, 2.2 million. Unfortunately, they're not all still in business. But we've had some slight moderation in the last 3 years, but it's still equal to 63% growth since 2019. You can see it leveled off a little bit and then it dropped down a little bit more. And we're not yet sure, well, we didn't know with what happened in Western North Carolina, how that was going to affect things. This particular graph, we show you, this is my favorite graph. This shows you the money. We collect fees. We are a fee-for-service organization. Last year, $219 million. That's a heck of a lot of corporation fees, renewal fees, registrations for stockbrokers, different offerings that are being made in the state, UCC filings, registration of lobbyists, registration of this, that, and the other. That red line is our appropriation. Do you see how it's gone up the same way the revenues have? You need enough time if that's true. Our appropriation has been basically flat, and with inflation, I would say it's trailing downward. But we are a clear profit center for the state of North Carolina. I don't keep peanuts, maybe 1% of what comes in. I have to go to the General Assembly and get down on my knee and say, may I have some more money? And it has not been coming. Our General Assembly is very reluctant to add more employees to the state payroll, and this is what you get. Anybody have good experience at motor vehicles lately? Same thing there. It is not me particularly, it is across the board. Some people waiting on state inspectors have got to wait for a long time because there are not enough of them. Prisons don't have enough staff. Firefighters, the fire service doesn't have enough staff. The pay is low, you can't attract people. So all of us struggle with this. Technology is the only thing that has saved us. I've got 183 employees. All the fees that we collect, we don't keep, but pittance of it. As I mentioned, we started with this pilot program of 14 counties. We completed that pilot phase and are now in all 93. 78 rural, 15 suburban. 37 counties have participated in business roundtables. Those are the yellow dots. And we also have done Main Street walks in 15 in conjunction with the business roundtable and the activities that we are doing to promote the availability of this resources. When I said earlier that we had a short window to get resource information to businesses, this is historical. This is not just 20 years, this is 30 or 40 years. We know from firsthand that 25% of the new businesses are gone within 3 years, and by year 7, the number goes to 50%. Those are not very good odds. That's a short period of time. I look at each new business as somebody's investment of their heart and soul and their energy and their ideas. And sometimes it's an investment of their health or their marriage when things don't go quite like it was anticipated. So I really am passionate about improving the odds for these. Next, we wanted to understand that these businesses were being created out of desperation because of job losses during COVID, but we found that only to be the case in less than 10% of them, while the majority of new business creators saw it as a new opportunity. The good news is about a third of these new businesses were making revenues of more than $75,000, and about 1 in 5, nearly more than 75,000, nearly 10% were making more than $500,000, and about 1 in 5 of these businesses had 2 or more employees. We saw more women and minorities starting their new businesses. Next, we asked these businesses what they needed. I don't think it was any surprise, it was my guess, it's not really a guess. Inadequate funding, then government regulation, and insufficient know-how were the 3 top obstacles. And for rural areas, inadequate broadband was significant. That was reported as an obstacle at 3 times the rate of urban business creators. Well, where are folks getting their information? More than half said they got it from the Secretary of State's office. Well, anytime a public official like I am gets a rating of over 50%, oh boy, throw your shoulder back and pat yourself on the back. I was horrified with this, just totally horrified. Because we're not a lawyer, we are not asking the appropriate questions of the new entrepreneur. All we have are the difference between a corporation, an LLC, and a nonprofit. That is the barest of minimums. there are other things that should be considered before somebody actually jumps off into it. So here we are. What we do realize from this is that we are the primary communications channel to these folks. Because we're the very first ones that know that they woke up in the morning and said, I've been thinking about this and today's the day I'm going to do it. And we know because they file with us. And finally, we asked them to look back at what information they wished they had known when they started. The top answers were access to and opportunity for funding. They also wanted help in pointing them in the right direction on back office functions like accounting, bookkeeping, HR, and more. And they wanted more information on how to start. The stuff they should have had before. All this data is very useful in how we develop the resource bulletin and webpage for Rural Rise NC project. It still has rural on it, but it really applies to everybody now because we've expanded on out there. All of us have our eye on the data that I showed you earlier about the rate of business closures at 3 years and 7 years. Our goal is to do everything we possibly can to extend the life of these new businesses for months and hopefully into years. This is crucial for our state's economy as a whole. After all, it doesn't help anyone when a business fails. Because we are laser focused on business success, my office recently engaged in a first of its kind research with collaboration with Fayetteville State University and Dr. Caroline Glacken and another colleague. As you heard earlier, Dr. Glacken is now with UNC Pembroke, but is still focused on this very important work. Last August, we released the results of that research, which showed that tens of thousands of jobs will be increased with even a small increase in the rate of North Carolina businesses reaching self-sufficiency. These new jobs, 24,500 of them, if we improve to 5%, would add an estimated $1.5 to $2 billion to the North Carolina economy each year, and add upward to 24,000 plus new jobs. The study has 3 main recommendations. Number 1, invest in entrepreneurial support organizations and educational programs that can help and promote credit readiness services. The survey shows that it may not be a lack of funding resources, but primarily insufficient credit worthiness. Number 2, strengthen referral networks to community development financial institutions, known as CDFIs, which tend to accept higher credit risk. And number 3, entrepreneurs would benefit from a comprehensive online searchable database where they can identify existing resources such as training, mentoring, networking, and financing in a single, easily navigated location, along with enhanced promotional outreach to make it well known in the entrepreneurial network. Well, folks, they were doing this, we were doing our thing. That's exactly what we were attempting to do with the RISE program. As we discussed today, the Secretary of State is one of the first stops a new business make in their entrepreneurial journey. This office is uniquely positioned to help our entrepreneurs make the important connections that will increase their chances for success. It is crucial that we take these steps early to help assure entrepreneurs are connected to these vital business resources and are on their pathway to self-sufficiency. So thank you all for joining us here this afternoon. Now I'm going to turn the podium over to Dr. Caroline Glacken, and then we'll hear from this distinguished panel. As the Thomas Family Distinguished Professor of Entrepreneurship at UNC Pembroke, Dr. Glacken is passionate about education, entrepreneurship, and economic development. Caroline earned a PhD from the University of Delaware, an MBA from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, and an AA from Bryn Mawr College. She's worked in the private and public sectors, including business ownership. Before entering academia, she was the executive director of the U.S. Treasury Certified Development Financial Institute First State Community Loan Fund, now True Access Capital. She also owned and operated several entrepreneurial ventures spanning manufacturing, retailing, publishing, and consulting. That's a lot. Caroline's primary research interests are entrepreneurial financing, entrepreneurial education and pedagogy, and women and minority entrepreneurship. She worked with Dr. Murat Adbar of Fayetteville State University and the Secretary of State's office to explore opportunities for entrepreneurial growth in North Carolina and the crucial resource, I'm getting tongue-tied, and the crucial research. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Carolyn Blacker.
Great to see you all. Welcome. And I'm not going to do a boring academic presentation for you. I've been an entrepreneur, I am an entrepreneur. I'm working on 2 commercialization projects right now. One in the health tech field and one in ag tech. So I feel you there. And I've had retail stores and I've run manufacturing. So when I do the research, I bring not just the academic rigor with it, and that's why I bring Murad along wherever I go, because he is a mathematician and the numbers guy. But I also like to bring a sense of reality. And what Secretary Marshall didn't mention is that we followed up this initial study we did with some interviews of entrepreneurs. We're still writing that up. And we've done an analysis that takes it on an academic stem that's probably going to go in a journal, which is what the best we can do. So there's a lot going on here. What you're going to hear now is just a tiny little piece of what we looked at. And I'm happy to answer questions. I should have put my QR code for my connection, but you can find me easily. Today we're talking about breaking down barriers. That's what my sort of life goal is to break barriers. And I wear a necklace a lot of the time. There's a little piece of glass seal, and it's a reminder of that every day. And what we really need to do is connect the businesses with the capital. Started my dissertation because there was money chasing businesses and businesses chasing money. So Secretary Marshall mentioned this. Literally, if we could move the needle 5%, as Bill Toole, we worked with extensively on this, talks about moving the needle. We could get the meaty middle of entrepreneurs in this state to move the distance between being self-sufficient, caring for their families, from being aspiring to doing that, whatever that means to them, okay? We can gain over 6 jobs per company. You translate that, it literally, this is not tiger math, this is math, okay? You can go from 1.5 to $2 billion a year difference in the state. More importantly, you're moving 5% of the small businesses in the state to self-sufficiency, where they're supporting their own family and they're hiring 9 other people. So that's what this is about. Okay? But we're not going to talk about all that today. We're going to talk about specific aspects of it. And there's a big impact. I did the bottom line up front for you, right? If I live in Fayetteville, we hear military terms all right, bluff, bottom line up front. But there are a lot of steps involved. And these steps take a lot of forms. We did this research with the understanding, there was an Office of Strategic Partnerships within the state, and we were connected through that process because the Secretary's office was trying to understand what was going on with those new businesses that were forming. And how are we not going to just get them to form, but get them to thrive, survive, and then thrive? And my first discussion with them is closure is not failure, closure is closure. Failure is if there's money left owing to somebody, okay? Failure is not if you didn't close willingly. But we know that there were a lot more failure than we'd like to see. So how do we get people to get beyond the bumps in the road, okay? And also the goal was to look at what policies and programs could we impact in this state, in this ecosystem that would matter, okay? And so we began in 23 already, 2 years ago. And it was, at the time I was in Fayetteville State, as she mentioned, and staffed at the Secretary of State's office. And we actually called and surveyed 177,000 active businesses in their database who had been active over a 7-year period. Why 7 years? Because when you look at the growth of the graph, that just made sense. And first we were just looking to see, is it age? But it was so much more. But we also understood what Secretary Marshall was talking about. We gotta get people early and often to where they need to be. So we did a Qualtrics survey for those of you who are data nerds. And we used instruments that have been tested. We didn't just make something up willy-nilly and see what would happen. And we took a view of the reseller's view of the firm, which in quick layman's language is what you have at your disposal and what you can get your hands on determines where you can go. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that's good enough, okay? And we got 6,546 responses, which is really pretty good. And where we could only do it where there was an email, and we went through, and in some firms we'd have more than one. We went to the person that was called the founder, the chief executive, or president of the organization whenever possible, because we were able to send them by name. Okay, people love it when you send them things by name, much better than when they're random. And they were representative, when we looked at them, they were representative of the state in terms of mix of responses. They weren't biased to a particular county, or particular gender, or anything like that. And we found there were 3 categories. For those of you who are, how many of you are business owners in the audience? It's almost all of you, right? It should be. Good, 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 good. Where do you fit, okay? 1 is self-sufficient. These business owners make enough to support themselves and their families in the manner at which they are comfortable, okay? That's not a particular revenue number, okay? Because if you're in rural North Carolina, that number could be very different than if you're here in Charlotte. We were looking at it, we looked at it by revenue, and we realized that that just shaded things in bizarre ways. But self-sufficiency is a way of looking at success for an entrepreneur, because there's so many different definitions, right? Are you aspirational? Do you want to be able to sustain your family from your job, but you're just not there yet, okay? And then there are people who are lifestyle business owners, right? They aren't ever planning to sustain their family from their business, and that's a perfectly legitimate, wonderful thing to do. And we started looking at what are the levers, what are the things that can help folks go from aspirational to self-sufficient, right? It seems obvious. Nobody's looked at it this way before. Who knew? So we started looking and we saw that meaty middle, 45.8% of respondents were aspirational, okay? And we also saw that there was a variance in self-sufficiency by age. Now, one would think if you survived longer, you were probably thriving more, right? Not necessarily, but somewhat, enough that it's significant. So we classified firms. There was an actual natural breaking point that a firm was really emerging for the first 4 years, right? And they tended to be more mature at 5 years plus. A lot of times we think about them as being nascent, being 0, 1 years old, and then all of a sudden there's something else. It doesn't work like that, you know, you run businesses. And what we started doing was digging deeper on barriers to access, and we asked, some of you maybe even responded to this, frankly, and we asked what their issues were, and there was no surprise here. This has been an issue for as long as I've been looking at this stuff, and as my record of work shows, I've been working a long time and doing this stuff a long time because I'm getting older. Lack of access to capital came up first. No surprise. What we found, what that means and why is where the surprise comes in. They also found the current economic situation to be an issue for them. They talked about taxes, and they talked about lack of organizations to assist entrepreneurs. And all those things sound superficially cool, like why? But then we decided to dig deeper. What is it about taxes? What is it about lack of access to capital? What in the economic situation at that time, it was uncertainty. Real quick, taxes wasn't that people objected to paying taxes, they objected to the complexity. Really interesting, right? All the interviews, people were like, I know I have to pay taxes, I'm cool with that. But make it so I can do it in a rational way and I can plan properly, okay? And lack of organizations to assist entrepreneurs hurts my heart. I've been working to assist entrepreneurs for literally decades now. It's not that the organizations don't exist, but if you don't know something exists, it doesn't exist for you. And that's where those recommendations about getting support so often, I know when I ran my community development financial institution, community loan fund, the hardest thing to get wasn't the capital. The banks wanted to give us capital. The churches wanted to give us capital. I had nuns pension fund money invested in my capital. But did they give us money to drive the capital to the marketplace? I started requiring if they were going to invest capital in us, they had to give us some money to support marketing and back office. Because if you don't support the organizations, they can be sitting at their desk waiting for you. They can come out on the street trying to give you money. And if you don't know they're legitimate, they're not gonna function. So this lack of organizations doesn't mean go create another 1,000 organization, or 10 per county. It means the organizations we have need to be visible to people in a good way. And they have to trust them. That's a whole nother study. So we asked, what happened if you wanted money? And first of all, it's interesting that when we compared our aspirational, I can't see it quite from here, our aspirational or self-sufficient, about the same number didn't need capital in the year we were asking, okay? So it's not that the need by those groups is different, but what happened is the sad part, okay? 25% of the aspirational applicants, whether they were looking for equity or debt, were turned down. Only 13% of the self-sufficient ones were. And we say, of course, they're self-sufficient, they're making money, they're earning money, they're going to be better qualified. But that's a double number. That's pretty significant. When it came to not getting as much money as they requested, they were about the same there. But again, self-sufficients got as much as they wanted, twice as often as aspirationals. That's not good news. It wasn't surprising news necessarily, but it was not good news. Okay? When we just look at the people that applied for money, these numbers are much more frightening. 54.9% of the aspirational group were turned down. Okay? 29% of the self-sufficient. That's not talking about the people who came in, spoke to somebody and were discouraged from borrowing. That's not the people who said, I know I'm not going to get any money, I won't apply. That's a whole nother conversation that I've started having with interviewees. So we know that this is an issue. And part of what today, or I guess a lot of what today is about, is so what, now what? Whenever I look at research, I want to know, okay, we know this, so what do we do? What do we mean? And we looked and we found out, where are my bankers and investors, right? You know, the C's of credit. You're looking for certain things, and these aren't surprises. Their credit rating might not have been that great. That was the reason they were turned down. Big issue is lack of credit history. I spend way more time than one would think is necessary explaining to people that no credit is not good credit. They didn't understand, okay? They don't have the collateral. They don't have the assets. One of the things is bankers need to get repaid or they don't keep having jobs, right? Your lender is a salesperson for money. Their job is to lend you money that you're going to pay back with interest so they can lend it again, okay? Their job is not to just give money out. He's laughing, he knows exactly what I'm talking about, okay? If you don't have collateral, what do you have in? Okay, I used to do very micro loans, $500. People would pledge their wedding engagement ring. We never took them. But it was the emotional, I'm committing something here, okay? And then the amount of debt. People were asking for more money than they could pay back. Or they were asking for equity that was too great. Maybe they didn't want to give up enough ownership. So we realized that there's some disconnects, okay? So we look at policy, and that's what my actual doctorate's in urban affairs and public policy. So this is taking me right back around, interestingly, to my dissertation work and the behavioral economics work that I did. I won't geek out and bore you with that right now. But we looked at, let's get some budget money oriented to supporting awareness of and access to the resources that are here, okay? This is a radical thing. This is not endorsed by Secretary of State's office. But if you think about the money we spend trying to bring in the big game, to bring in the people that are going to supposedly hire all those people, and you took a very small piece of that budget and allocated that to reaching out, getting people to know that Rural Rise exists. Lord knows that, you know, not a lot of money would really help people know about this, okay? Even getting the other agencies to cross-list information, okay? So if you don't know something exists, you can't access it. So spend time, spend money, get that information out. If you don't know, you can't know. Also, credit readiness support is important. You're jumping the gun applying for the money before you've taken the time to figure out, are you ready? And it's a disservice to entrepreneurs, small business owners, to encourage them to take on debt or to give up ownership of their business without understanding fully what that means. It doesn't mean they're not smart. It doesn't mean they don't have brilliant ideas, but transparency and disclosure are super important. And I think that looking at providing credit readiness, and I believe there is a state initiative going on around that right now. I've seen some bits and bobs about it. Really needs more support. And then for those entrepreneurial support organizations, you have a role too. Entrepreneurs need Sherpas. Okay? We can be done wandering the mountains and the deserts for a long, long time without guidance. And you know what? So many other people have made the same mistakes before that we're about to make, or so many other places have succeeded in certain areas. There are people who can help with that. There are people who are prepared to help with that. But we need to support those Sherpas. And we need to leverage the power of collaboration. This is a sad thing. You know, business owners, you always have competitors. Do you know your entrepreneurial support organizations have to compete with each other too? They're scrambling for those grants. They're scrambling for those budget allocations. It's hard to collaborate and compete at the same time. I am not arguing for a monopoly on entrepreneurial support, but I am saying we've got to get better about defining our ecosystem and finding points where we can collaborate rather than compete. And access needs to be shared. Silos and towers do not help small businesses. If you sign on to the Secretary of State's site and you find a resource, winning. If you happen to go to a local support organization that doesn't have that link, or maybe even know about that link for some reason, you miss out on that whole resource. Why not connect them better? We need to map our ecosystems. This is an ongoing challenge. Certain communities have done a really good job of that. Rural Rise is a good start at that. It's a solid, wonderful start that most places don't have the benefit of having. But imagine you woke up today after thinking about this for a number of months and years and decided that you were going to open your own business. And you said, well, I want to open a restaurant at 100 Trade Street in Charlotte. What are the steps? What are the rules? Who will be regulating me? Who will be inspecting? How do I know that I'm okay? One of the things I heard over and over again from entrepreneurs is they don't mind regulations. They don't mind taxes. They just want them to be fair and intelligible. They need to be able to figure them out. They don't need one random tax that they have to file and pay by check while they do everything else electronically. More about that if you want to hear about it, but I won't go there. Also use evidence-based proposals. The kind of depth of research we were able to get allows for a lot of that. It's not all about anecdotes. Stories are wonderful, but you gotta store it up as facts. Same with entrepreneurs. You can't just say you're gonna do well. You gotta tell us, how do you know that? What did your customers tell you? Entrepreneurial support organizations is not about, I'm gonna say it, butts and chairs. It's about what impact did that have on them. And keep at the work. The entrepreneurs that found the resources really appreciated them. They valued them highly. They valued the networking, they valued the one-on-one counseling, they valued the training. And it made a difference between the self-sufficient and the aspirational. Business owners, you have a job to do too. Work on your financial readiness from before you're a business owner. I try to work with my young people. They're not that young. I'd love to see them in middle school, but I could not be a middle school teacher to save my life. You know, what does that credit report tell you? What if you never borrowed anything? How do you figure that out? You know, what's gonna matter? Is opening another credit card gonna hurt you? If I wanna get business credit, knowing that you have to pledge personal credit and knowing how important that is, I can tell you how many people did not want to sign off personally on their business loans. Bankers are not going to be happy if you're not going to, they're like, if you don't believe in your business enough, why should we? Okay? That's understanding that is not intuitive. and that needs to be supported, and you need to seek that assistance. More and more today, you can find programs around financial wellness and financial fitness. Sometimes they're called financial literacy. I hate that term, but it's just knowing what works and making sure that you set yourself up for success. Understanding that no credit is not good credit, essential. And this is a big one, and I probably come at that more from my lender background, but I have to say I added this. Don't wait until you absolutely need the money tomorrow, okay? Don't lease your space and use your savings to pay rent on an empty space for 6 months. Now you're running out of money and you need it, and you go to a lender and you want them to decide for you immediately. You've just used up the cash reserve that you have. You've created an urgency that they can't respond to. And then when you get a no, it's devastating. Okay, find those support organizations. Almost every county has a community college that has a program. Most universities have a program. They are not academicians. They are not professors by and large, and they are not there to teach you how to do things, but to help coach you. They're free, but worth a lot more than what you pay for. And also, a financially prepared owner is going to be a lot more ready to move from aspiration to self-sufficiency. You don't want to be quitting your full-time job, right? And trying to count on your money when you don't know how that works. This is, again, not to disparage it, but to understand what we're getting into. We talk about affordable loss. We talk about access to resources as key skills. For small business funders, yeah, got some rules too. Get and stay visible. Some of them are awesome at that. You see them at everything. Others you never see, but then I'll hear them say, well, we don't get any people applying. Again, if people don't know you're there, they're not going to apply to you. Okay? And this is a big one, being transparent. You'll hear me say transparent and fair a lot. Be transparent about your expectations. If it's going to take somebody a lot of time to get the materials together, and it's going to take you time to process it, don't act like it's a trivial process and they'll know tomorrow. Okay? A quick no is better than a slow no any day, but you need to let people know. And if you're going to ask people to sign personally, they need to know that up front, not at closing, right? When applicants become frustrated, they don't see the supply as being available. They see it as being closed off to them. And populations that have been historically redlined or excluded from credit perceive that and don't even apply still today. Partner with the financial fitness programs. In our area, Moneybox Academy has just come in a big way with doing this kind of work. You don't have to donate to them. It would be lovely if you're a bank and you can do it. But find a way to work with them, okay? And if you can't do a loan, and this was one we struggled with, I know that lenders hesitate to lead people somewhere, but give them a couple of options. Maybe they're ready for a CDFI loan, maybe they're not ready for a loan at all. But let them know it. Don't just, ghost them or just make them sad. And also just remove the hoops and hurdles. My poor team in my old loan fund, I had a recovering bank president work for me as a lender. And I always call them recovering because you do have to shift your hats when you move. And it's not that you do less, but he would come up to me and go, I want to ask them about this. And I'd go, is it going to change your credit decision? Bob? No, I'm just interested because it doesn't make sense to me. If it's not going to change your credit decision, why make them do that next thing? Okay? So think about the hurdles you create. Are you having people fill in the same information 15 times? Okay? Are you having them do things that just don't make sense anymore? And I think what Secretary Marshall has done in talking about your mortgage closing process, that kind of stuff where you get rid of the barriers and make it easier makes the world of difference. So those are the few things that I had to share with you. Self-sufficiency is more important than a specific revenue number. Okay. Self-sufficient firms employ a lot more people, about 6 more people than aspirational ones. Moving from aspiration to self-sufficient matters, and it matters a lot. And that $980 million in direct, and then all the indirect gains that are there. And markets only work, I'm teaching introductory economics for the first time in a million years right now. Markets only work when entrepreneurs can find the amount of money they need in the terms for repayment or ownership that they can afford to do the things they want. And lenders and investors will only invest where they're gonna make what returns they need. And they only work together if they come together and figure that out. So this is a first step in trying to figure out who all does that. So for that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting stats and things for us to remember. A lot of clarity that you brought to the startup borrowing process. So I would love to welcome our distinguished panel. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and give us one little tidbit, and we'll go further, of what you think you all do that people may be interested in. Go right ahead.
Good morning. I mean, good afternoon, excuse me. My name's Adig Nazmarian, or Ari. I am with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm the Deputy Director here in the state of North Carolina. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having us. And we are a federal agency established in 1953. And I am part of the field office team. We have 68 field offices with the Small Business Administration. Outreach is very important to us. It's important for us to share what we do with folks like you. So our core programs and services include access to capital through our government guaranteed loan programs, access to federal contracts through our federal certification programs, as well as access to counseling through our small business resource network. And we also do direct lending in times of natural disasters.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Magali Rivera. I am a Business Solutions Officer with Carolina Small Business Development Fund. We are a CDFI and a nonprofit organization. As a community development financial institution, we provide access to capital, and we also provide business resources to support you through your entrepreneurial journey. Most of the work that we do is in terms of being able to support you through your journey, so that you're not just coming to us alone, you're coming to us to be able to become a better business owner in terms of the resources. And we do that through partners. So we're able, depending on what it is when you're coming to us, if you are not financially ready, then we have resources that we work with you on, and we continue to work with you until you're able to come to the loan table.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Price. I'm President and CEO of the National Institute of Minority Economic Development based in Durham. We're 39 years old. We have been supporting minority and women-owned businesses all of that time. We are really three companies in one. The parent is where primarily our programs are located. We have 4 women's business centers, one here in Charlotte, one in Greensboro, one in Durham, which covers, well, there's Women's Business Center of North Carolina, and then one in Richmond, Virginia. We also have a small business transportation resource center, which focuses on construction, airports, and connecting minority women businesses in that space. We have a community development financial institution also, which is called Institute Capital, supporting businesses at various sizes, but also supporting affordable housing. And then lastly, we have a community development corporation to support CDCs, or community development corporations across the state that are building affordable housing and revitalizing communities. So that's what we do. In terms of training, we offer several seminars throughout the year and conferences. Our biggest one you all just missed. I had to dig that in there. It's called the Executive Networking Conference, which is held at Pinehurst every year. So for those of you who love golf, you missed a treat. We do that every August. This next year will be in July. So I would encourage you to check out our website. We bring together about 400 individuals, business owners, collaborators, other nonprofits, government leaders, to talk shop and connect with one another. That's what we do.
Good afternoon. My name is Don Harrington. I'm Senior Vice President of Business Lending at the State Employees Credit Union. We are the second largest credit union in the country. Believe it or not, with 56 billion in assets, about 35 billion in loans, 25 billion of those are residential mortgages, and about 10 billion are personal loans. And the reason I mention that is that none of those are officially business loans. What we realized is that a lot of our members are coming in and actually to our branches and our call centers and requesting business loans. And what we were doing, and our continue to do, is actually give them personal loans. And so what we want to do is we decided that we want to expand that and really truly get into small business lending. We're not looking to get into commercial lending, but we are strictly looking to serve our members. So you won't see us out in the street, have a business development person building loans. But what we're trying to do is we want to be to serve as a member. We are a credit union. We have 2.9 million members, and our the second most requested product is loans. And so what we're doing is trying to find ways to expand what we're doing now in our branch and call center, where we are going to go ahead and make that small business loan if we can service that member. We take a lot of risk as a credit union, and so we, in many respects, our lending kind of mirrors what CDFI does, in that we are willing to make loans, and we do it now to our members, those with no credit scores or those with low credit scores. Again, because we are a credit union, we're member based, and our goal is ultimately to serve that member. And right now, we're seeing that there's a great opportunity for us to serve members further by offering business lending.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Van Hoy from Central Piedmont Community College Small Business Center. We are a part or I'm a part of a network across the state that we can tap into and share resources. Your local center, what we do is to provide that one-on-one, confidential, free counseling to business startups or existing businesses that maybe you're trying to prepare for that loan. And we provide free seminars. It's your tax dollars that are paying for it, so I encourage you to please take advantage of our services. If you look online, you don't see a class being offered at Central Piedmont that really fits your need, look at our network, give us a call, we'll give you that website. There may be an opportunity, maybe it's being offered at Gaston Community College or at Fayetteville, and so on, and you are welcome to take those classes as well. We will help you navigate that. We offer seminars on credit worthiness and help you with those business plans, help you get solid, know your market, know your customers so that you will and can have that solid business plan when you go to the banks or go to the CDFIs or the credit union. We consider them and work with these folks as our business partners. We help you navigate who to go to when it's the right time. So please tap into your community colleges for the small business centers and at the universities, at the SBTDC, we are partners as well. So we're just happy to support you. Again, I have a team of business counselors. They are seasoned business owners to support you and the numerous seminars that we make available to you. So thank you.
Okay. It's obvious we have a diverse panel of financial experts with a lot of different platforms. All the people in this audience have one question in their mind right now. What do I need to know before I come see you? Right. Because you'll think, gosh, here I am and here you are, and somewhere between me and you, it's money. So what do I need to know before I come to you? So I'm not going to call on anybody. I'm just going to let you raise your hand. I do want all 5 panelists to give a comment. What do the people in this group need to know before they come see you? What is the biggest disconnect you see? And what is the thing you would like to connect with the most? Business plan? Go ahead. Kevin, you look like you're ready. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I don't know that I'll say that there's anything you really need to know other than your business. We have business counselors who can then help shape you into the space to acquire capital that you need to continue to grow. What we look for are those who are passionate about their business first. If you're not passionate about your business and you can't sell us on it, it's going to be hard to sell anybody else on it. So once we are clear on that, then we can help guide you in terms of how to grow it from there to scale. It is important for us to know, are you trying to be a lifestyle business, or are you trying to be that aspirational or growth business? I like to call it a growth business that is looking to be more of a serial entrepreneur that's going to grow it, to sell it, and move on to the next. So we like to understand what's your end goal, so we know how to help you.
Okay. Anyone? Go ahead.
I'll begin by saying planning is everything. And so because most of business owners that come and in the initial call, they're looking for a loan, right? And so I'm going to kind of echo what Dr. Blackton has said, and that is, don't wait to need a loan to contact us, right? And so within that planning, we're able to look at everything that it is that you want to do and work with you on what we call financial readiness. And the most important thing is, even if you have a business plan, even if you went into the financial projections, there needs to be a realization that you are the business, right? So if you're putting your blood, sweat, tears, and passion into the business, as Kevin just said, then that also means that the financial readiness piece should be your #1 priority. If we're gonna pull your credit, then you should look at your credit too. And so what we find is that whether you're a new business or you're a growing business, the financial readiness piece is everything, beginning, middle, end, and beyond. We have businesses that come to us for $350,000, they bring their projections, they get the loan, and they don't use the projections. It's a tool. It is there to help you benchmark yourself. If you said you were going to make $17,000 in revenue in month one, did it happen? And if it didn't happen, why? If you said your expenses were going to be $5,000, they were $7,000. So being able to look at the financial readiness piece, for me, is the thing that I really would love for you to know, and to feel confident in being able to reach out to CSBDF, because we are here to help you, and not only directly, but through the business partners like Phyllis, the SBC, and things of that nature.
So when we're thinking of financial readiness, I mean, one important question to ask yourself is, how much money do I need, right? We get a lot of phone calls from businesses, aspiring businesses, startup businesses, newer businesses, and they're calling us and they're looking for guidance. They're looking for financing a lot of the time when they're reaching out to our office. And I will often ask, well, how much money are you looking to borrow? How much financing do you need? And even what sounds like such a simple question isn't really, it requires that financial readiness, that technical assistance through these resource partners to help you to be able to, in some level of detail, explain, why do I need this money? Am I purchasing a truck? Well, if I'm purchasing a truck, what is the value of that truck going to bring to my business? Why do I need that truck other than just I need it to, haul something? Well, what kind of value does that hauling bring to my business? So just, asking yourself that question, how much money do I need, and figuring out the answer is another good place to start too.
And I'm going to interject because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Secretary Marshall, was the survival rate for startups 3 years, that in 3 years, 25% of them didn't renew? Okay, so I'm going to add this to it. Since 3 years, it seems to be a critical number, and I think in 7 years it's 50%, am I correct? So let me go through the 3 year. Would you suggest that potential borrowers present a 3-year business plan along with what I'm going to add that to the question, the previous question. Is it important to them to come to you and say, I would love to see a 3-year business plan, because hopefully they'll keep you out of that 25% in the first 3 years. So add that to the first question.
So for us at the SBC, we welcome anyone who's even interested in starting a business. But if ideally you'll come to the table and know what type of business that you feel like you have a skill set to grow and start and grow this business. And just understand that we are going to talk about the business plan, talk about your market, talk about market research. So we'll educate you if you don't already know these things, but it's kind of helpful when a person does. They're ready, they want to start the business, they're ready to learn what it takes, so that the expectation is to be working on that business plan so that they will qualify, that they'll have credit worthiness so that they will qualify for that loan.
Thank you.
I guess being last, it's going to sound like I'm going to repeat what everyone else said here, but the critical piece for any small business lender is definitely what are you going to use the money for, and understanding how those funds being deployed into your business, how you're going to generate that revenue. Because you all know, as the lenders, there's only two things that we want. We really want when we lend your money. You know what that is? how you gonna pay me, how you gonna pay me on time. So it's really critical to understand when you walk in and say, I want let's say $10,000 in working capital. What does that mean? So we're going to ask you, what is the $10,000? What is that $10,000 going to be used for? And when you really kind of dig a little bit deep, you realize that maybe buying a piece of equipment, or they are buying supplies, and it's truly working capital. Because we as a lender, we really are not doing you any favor and really serving your needs if we can't match and put you in the right type of product that really is going to impact your business. We do you no favors by offering you what you didn't ask for. You need 10, you probably do need 10. For us to offer you 5, don't take it. Unless you got 5 for someone else that you're getting it from. But the real critical piece and a couple of disconnects that we've seen is really, even though that business has a business plan, does that business owner truly understand how they're going to execute on that plan, how they're going to really generate that revenue and the timing of that? Because if we can't determine that, even if we do determine that, if we realize that you say you're investing or buying a piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment going to help you generate another $100,000 in revenues, well, we really need to know it may take you, say it's a specialized piece of equipment, 3 to 4 months to get that equipment implemented. So I'll come in and offer you a 4-year term loan for that piece of equipment, and you find a lender who want to do that because you can actually provide that collateral. Well, you probably better serve in a good small business lender knows that they're probably better off giving you 6 months interest only on that transaction, because you're not going to really generate a significant revenue to be able to pay them back. So it's really critical to understand what you're going to use the money for, how you're going to deploy in your business, and how it's going to generate your revenue. If we can understand that, we can be your business partner.
Okay, thank you. If I'm in this audience, and we have limited time with a group of experts, I'm thinking, if I'm one of them, I'm thinking, what are the 3 biggest mistakes you guys see in applicants? People will come to you and say, I'm going to do a startup, and they would say to you, what is it I need to be very cognizant of the things I need to avoid and the things I need to be prepared for? So they're waiting for your answer.
One of the biggest misconceptions, big mistakes that is, one is, and you already heard this, is that as a small business owner, the lender considers the business to be you. And so we are definitely focusing on you. We are actually going to pull your credit. We're going to actually, a big part of what we're going to look at is going to be your credit history. And so really being prepared and knowing that, knowing what your credit history looks like, which means we're going to ask you to guarantee the loan. So those of you who may be members of SECU or any credit union know that the credit union industry is one whereby personal guarantees is pretty much written in everyone's policy. If you don't get that personal guarantee, it's a policy exception. And one of the first reports that the regulator is going to ask for when it comes to those shops is how many exceptions you made on a small by not requiring personal guarantees. So I say that to say personal guarantees are going to be required. So there's a big misconception, okay, I'm starting a business, okay, I have this shield because I set up a LLC, have this shield because I set up a S corp. Well, the business is still you, and we're going to actually require you to guarantee. Second one is, I heard earlier whereby there was a notation in regards to doing something early. One big problem we see, and I've seen over the years, is you decide you're ready to borrow money, you haven't filed your taxes. You filed an extension of your taxes. Well, again, it's all about readiness, it's all about preparation. Please go ahead and file your taxes. When you need that money, one of the first things we're going to ask for is your personal taxes as well as the taxes on the business. So really don't think you can go to that institution and have your business tax return, also not have your personal tax return. We're going to ask for those also. Yes, for 3, a good small business lender, a good partner for your business, the last question they should ask you about is collateral. If they truly work with you and understand your business, the first thing they'll be asking you about is how you're going to generate the cash flow and the income to pay them back. But if they leave with collateral, go somewhere else.
That's a great point. Next.
So to go along with what Don is saying, we have business clients coming to us and they're not real clear on how the business then is going to make money. They're passionate about this business. They have maybe some experience, an aunt, uncle, maybe someone else in the family, or it's just something they're very interested in doing. They're passionate about doing it, but they really can't define, they're not clear on how it's going to make money and really become a business for them. And they'll, and another mistake for number two is they file their paperwork when they really don't understand their business. They don't understand how many employees am I going to need? Am I just going to be a solopreneur, or am I planning to get this business growing to the point that I can hire one or two more people the following year? So really understanding that path of how this business is going to grow and be sustainable. And for three, sometimes it's maybe not understanding just how much work this business is going to take. How many hours are they really planning to put into making this business survive? Do they need to go ahead and continue working at their current job while they're trying to build this business? And making those sound decisions, that's okay. And sometimes we'll encourage some people, maybe you just need to do that, and how much money are they willing to invest in the business out of their own finances. So just those three areas that I see.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna kind of add, echo what Don said, but for existing businesses, sometimes we get a mismatch, right? You're using business and personal expenses together, and so, you may have debt that you use for the business and you're coming to us for debt refinance, but you put it on a personal card. Personal is personal, so you can't cover if you want to do that consolidation. So from the moment you open a business, separate the two. Yes, you as the business owner represent the company, but the way in which you spend, put that in two buckets. Whatever is personal, and whatever is business. And then oftentimes for businesses that are in the growing phase, looking forward to you making it beyond that 3-year threshold, is the way in which you're managing your taxes. And what you tell your accountant makes a difference. If you tell your accountant, I don't want to pay taxes, then they're going to give you that. But if you tell your accountant, I'm planning on getting a loan in the next year, and you have the past 2 years of taxes showing a loss, then we're looking at how is this business going to be able to sustain the loan when you're reporting tax losses for 2 years in a row. And so really looking at it from that standpoint, the business plan is really an action plan for you. If you create a visionary plan, then work on that vision. Even if your visionary is 10 years, what's the practicality of what you can achieve in 2 years, right? And align your projections. Sometimes we get business plans that say, I'm gonna do marketing, I'm gonna do billboards, I'm gonna do radio, I'm gonna do advertising, and then we go and we look at the projections and we see $200 a month. How? And so really looking at the business plan as a tool for you. It is not just a written document. And so the way in which you position and plan yourself is going to make all the difference when you come to the lending table and in operating your business overall. So I always like to say to the clients that come forward, it's not just about the business loan, the work that you're doing. It is a tool for you.
That's a great point on the tax returns. We've seen a lot of people come to us and give us their tax returns. I tell you what, my accountant figured this out, I didn't make a dime. I'm going, this is great. How are you gonna pay us back? And they say this, and then you start saying, well, we need to see you put yourself in a profitable, not a break-even situation, because we're not on that balance sheet yet. So they're all great answers. Have you had a chance to reply? Okay. I know we don't have a whole lot of time.
Can I respond to that one?
Yeah, please do, Kevin.
Well, I only have two because Magali just took the taxes, so I don't have to say that one. But let me tell you what I see. And I'm an old banker. I've been doing this a long time. And what frustrates me is when I see a client come to us who has not leveraged their finances properly. And what I mean by that is when they started their business, they started it by funding it with their savings. They used their 401k or they used their 403b to start their business. They blew through that and now they're on their credit cards. They've now blown through that and they're starting to max out their credit cards. They're starting to see some slow pays on their credit card because they're moving stuff around. Y'all know Kevin Hart, if y'all remember how Kevin Hart talks about moving money from checking savings. They're moving stuff around now. And what's happening as a result of that is it's impacting their credit score. Then they come to a financial institution for a loan. You have nothing to leverage. And so it's frustrating. So my ask of all of you business owners, when you are talking to your colleagues, when you're talking with other entrepreneurs, I need you to repeat what I just said. Don't do that. Go to your financial institution on the front end when you start your business, because now you have something to leverage. You have resources. Not that you need to spend those resources, but you can leverage those things. If you're not doing credit cards, I've also seen people factor, which is incredibly expensive to use factoring, and it's hard to undo that. So those are some challenges. And the second thing is not having this professional team around you. A professional team around you. Meaning, who's your lawyer? Who's your accountant? Do you have those folks in place that are helping to give you some advice to help steer you? You need to have those folks that know you, know your business, and can help guide you. So you didn't just create your business plan on your own, but you got feedback from them too.
Okay. It's important that we allow time for Q&A because these are the people that need to ask questions, not me. I did want to tell you one funny story. Two brothers started a car dealership. One of them was a great marketing guy. The other was a great businessman, and they started selling automobiles. And the older brother, who was kind of a businessman, called his brother and said, Bill, you realize every time we sell a car, we're losing $1,000? He said, He said, what do you think we're going to do? He said, just got to sell more cars. So my question to you is, and I heard you mention financial literacy, and I certainly don't want to use that term in a way that would offend anybody. Profit is different from cash flow. Planned expenses are different from expenses. How important is the financial literacy part to you all when a consumer or a startup comes to you and you can really tell, of course you need Ms. Danwood, obviously from your perspective, you all assist them and how community college can help. How important is to you all financial literacy? And I'll answer, because I think these people need that. You can pretty well spot financial literacy when you see it, somebody that's well prepared. You can also spot it when you don't see it. So give me some answers to that. Each of anyone.
I think it's the difference between an aspirational and a self-sufficient business. Because right now we have a really great program that's called the Ignite No program, It is for businesses that are operating. It's one of the few loan programs where you are not required to have a business plan or financial projections. But we are gonna look at 6 months of your bank statements, both business and personal. And so the way in which you are managing your bank statements, your expenditures, is something that we're gonna be able to immediately see. Do you have non-sufficient funds? Have you been going negative? Is that pointing to cash flow and the need for the loan, and things of that sort? So when we think financial literacy, you're really talking about financial readiness, right? And making sure that in everything that you're doing, you are evaluating your expenses, you're evaluating your revenue, you're looking at everything from a month-to-month basis. You know, things are gonna happen. You're gonna have an insufficient fund fee at some point, okay? But what we're looking is character, right? The 6 C's, and when you're looking at character, we're looking at what is your financial behavior. And so if you're taking that from to the helm from the very beginning, and you're putting yourself towards that self-sufficient business that Dr. Blacken has spoken about. And so that's really the way to set a solid foundation for your business, so that when you do come to the loan table, you're fully prepared. And where you aren't, then at least we're working to tweak, and not, as Kevin said, where everything has to be redone or it's too late and we can't help you.
Next.
What was the name of that program?
Ignite Loan Program. And it is carolinasmallbusiness.org/ignite.
The only thing I would add to that, I agree with Magali, is that, you know, being an entrepreneur can be somewhat overwhelming. It is not like, you know, the check is gonna be there every 2 weeks. You gotta kill what you eat. And you have other families depending on you when you start hiring people. It's a different level of pressure. And to expect someone to be perfect when they come to us is an unrealistic expectation. One of the challenges I often see is that entrepreneurs sometimes don't reach out because they don't think they're perfect yet. Don't wait. Perfection comes. What I'm more concerned about is, do you know the business, the widget you're trying to sell? Then you know how to run the business. You either hire that, or we can coach you on how to get better at that. But if you don't know how to sell the widget, that's a big problem. So I just want y'all, don't get into paralysis, because fear stops a lot of entrepreneurs. It stops them cold in their tracks, and they don't reach out. When they have challenges, they don't reach out, and that leads to that 25% that we see that are lost that first 3 years because they wait, versus reaching out. Even though everything is across, all the T's aren't crossed, all the I's aren't dotted, reach out now. Let us help you, coach you through that process.
To add to what Kevin is saying, analysis paralysis, you don't want to get yourself into that. But it is, you know, the nuts and bolts, it's good to have that kind of foundational understanding. And the nice thing about all of these resources, including the SBA, is, for example, the Small Business Administration on our website, we have what's called a learning center, where we have a bunch of on-demand videos on, you know, financial preparedness, other business topics, identifying partnerships, things like that you can do, you know, you can take any time. A lot of these organizations, they have live trainings that you can join, and they have recorded trainings after the fact that you can listen to. You know, if you're kind of outside of your regular first primary job, business hours, trying to get something off the ground, or you're, transitioning into that full-time business ownership. So even in that case, there are resources out there, module-based resources, cohort-based resources that you can take advantage of. And like we're saying, in many cases, free of charge. Why? Because we're already all paying for these resources through our taxpayer funds, so you're entitled to them anyway.
Go ahead.
And with the Small Business Center, especially on our network website, and that is www.ncsbc.net. We also have some recorded sessions on the finances.
Financial literacy, financial readiness, financial wellness. One thing to keep in mind is just even in your everyday life, but again, going back to the fact that you're a small business owner and the business is you, having that positive or good credit history, and that credit history really does live with you and takes you a long way if it's positive. Just think about it, as a small business owner, you want to put some capital, say you want to lend some money to the business yourself, you go to your financial institution, you have excellent credit, and all of a sudden you're able to get that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to put in your business at a rate of 7%, simply because you have an excellent credit score. You find another lender whereby you may get that same amount, but then since it's at 10% because your credit's not quite as good, that has a big impact on your finances. So just think about that. So when I speak about financial literacy, there's a couple things that really comes to mind when a small business owner walks into your shop is being able to sit across from that small business owner and ask them about their cash flow, ask them about their capital, ask them about their credit history, and they have very, very quick and very detailed responses. Then you ask them about their business, and again, how the business is going to generate that revenue, how the business is going to get paid, and how the business is going to pay you back. It really gives a comfort level to that lender or that loan officer or whoever, the business development officer, that you really understand your business. So that piece of being prepared, it creates a mindset for that person to really be in a position to really want to work with you down the road, to really kind of give you a little bit more grace because they know that you understand the business. So when they ask you for that additional piece of information, get it back to them in a timely manner. If it takes you another 30 to 60 days to get the information, then they're going to have concerns about your record keeping, your bookkeeping. So that prepared it. So all that really feeds into what I think, again, I always hop on as a critical piece for a small business is that person across the table that you're asking for money from truly understanding your business, building that relationship for them to be able to partner with you down the road. It's all about a relationship and them understanding and their willingness to work with you. But if it takes them another 3 months to give them the financial statement, again, you don't do your taxes, or you do. You also must under the end. I was going to say one of the big misconceptions is people walk in and say, "Well, I have taxes for that I'll file, but I also have taxes that really truly show a cash for my business." But don't tell me that. I don't want to know. All I want to know is you do give me taxes that shows the profitability. But I say all that to say it's all about building that credibility too. Because again, small business is all about you finding someone that's going to work for you and really understanding your business and help you along as a business owner. It's almost like you go into your credit union, finance your daughter's car, they finance your car, they finance your house, and you build that relationship. So you walk in there, even with a small business, and we find that's what's happening in our branches now, and even our call center, is we have 265 branches, and a lot of those branches are making those small loans to those small businesses in their personal name for them to go buy that piece of equipment. But they're doing so because their lender their bankers, so to speak, since they were kids. So again, it's all about relationships. So that financial wellness and being prepared is critical for you to just take that same concept, that same thought when you're building your personal credit, also and your personal reputation. You also have to do that with your business.
Okay, I know these folks are chomping at the bit to ask questions, and what we'll do is we'll ask a question and then we'll just let you rotate it, providing answers. You got microphones, so raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. One here.
When you think about the pool of entrepreneurs you guys know, and there's the difference between aspirational, self-sufficient, and I mean, saying self-sufficient, the ones who are really successful, are there any common traits that you guys see with those people? Like, the people who are self-sufficient really have this, whether it's a network or the financial, whatever that may be.
I'll start. My experience has been is the biggest differentiator is those that are able not only to work in the business, but work on the business. And what I mean by that is I've talked to several entrepreneurs, and I heard here, who actually will tell you that every 2 months they go back and look at their business plan. They go back and compare what they're doing now, they compare the numbers, compare the sales, compare the costs. They're comparing those to the business plan. So if that business plan is truly what they is representative of what they're doing and how they really were projected to grow, then they're actually going back and looking at that. They're finding time to taking time in their business to plan out, go out and find good people. They're actually finding time to go out and build those relationships. They may know how to do a great job of making riches, whatever you want to call it, but they also realize they have to go and market their business themselves. So those that are able to actually work on the business and not just work in the business, to me, are those that really make up that pool for self-sufficient entrepreneurs, small business owners.
Only thing I would add to that is that, and I saw this on last week, with those businesses that have been around a long time, they're heavily engaged in volunteerism. And it's different because you're not selling the business, but you're building relationships. And you do business with people you know. And so if you don't show up for volunteer engagement on time, or you don't do the assignment right, it's kind of like what Don was saying about you are your business. You kind of set the reputation of what I can expect if I'm going to loan money to you. And so that's another way of getting business, is doing volunteerism.
And then also, just real quick too, they listen to feedback from trusted sources. So if you're approaching lenders and you're shopping around and you're hearing the same feedback, you know, okay, well, you're getting rejected. What did the lender tell you? Well, they told me XXX, but no, there's no but. If they're all telling you the same thing, listen and adjust.
I really want to echo what Irene just said, because you have clients that come to the table with, I know it all disposition, I just came for the money. And they go away, they come back. And so that openness and that receptiveness to learning is so key to being able to be successful long term. I'm going to quote my director over there, Reggie Jones, because he preaches to me a lot when I do get some clients at the table that are just not listening. And he says, man, they know what they know, but they don't know what you need them to know. And so that piece is significant as it relates to your receptiveness to be able to say, I don't know it all, and I'm before some experts that can help take me to the next level.
Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much. I am a United States Army veteran. I have taken my time with this business. And my question to you is, I'm gonna give you a little feedback about it. In 2023, I decided to do trademark first before I even started my LLC. So I'm here being a sponge because I don't know anything, but this is something I'm taking a leap of faith on. It's something I wanted to do for a long time. My idea came to me as I was exiting the military and overseas. And the only thing I had in my hand was a notebook, a piece of napkin from what the beverage they gave me. And I'm like, God, I've done this service, what do I do now? And what he gave me was on that napkin. 20 years later, this past March, I was able to start the LLC. But beforehand, I put some legalities in place because I didn't want my brand, the name that he gave me, to be subjected to other people. So I've taken steps, and I thought I was so behind because I've waited so long to do this. And I had pressure, you need to go ahead and do this thing. But I'm a thinker, and it has to make sense logically before I can put 100% behind it. But you all have given me all the information that I need to get with. I need something from everybody up here on that stage. But my question is, how do I, as a veteran, come into this new realm of business ownership? And I want to not just own a business, but I want to be successful to generate generational wealth and leave legacy for my family.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I also served in the Army, so I have a kinship with fellow Army veterans. We have an outstanding Department of Veterans Affairs for North Carolina. We have a brand new secretary for Veterans Affairs. She is an Air Force veteran, but don't hold that against her.
Okay, we won't.
But she is entrepreneurial, and she's always thinking about what else can we do to support veterans. There is a transition program that they run to help you think through what's the next step. Is it college? Is it going to work for someone, either trade or starting a business? So I would encourage you to reach out to our Veterans Affairs Department for the state.
Okay, thank you.
Right here, and then next over. Right here. Yep, right here, then.
This is a two-part question. I'm wondering, for those with bad credit, is there like a particular number or score that we should be reaching before moving forward? And I know that the business plan is important, and I know credit is important as well. I'm just wondering, for a lender, which is more important? Like, which one are you guys gonna be looking for first, or in the hierarchy of the business?
I would say it is definitely the credit. The credit, and you heard me say several times that small businesses use, so that credit score is definitely important. Right now, most lenders would tell you credit score is 620, 640. Most are landing around 640, consider 640 and above to be a decent on good credit. But definitely find ways to build that credit. You're a member of a credit union, bank, find a way. Got good resources at this table. Some of these folk have their own, have ties to those that can help you on the credit side, credit counseling side. Find ways and find those ideas on how to build that score up. Even if it's parking some monies in a financial institution and getting a small loan secured by that money and paying it back on time. And what I would suggest, if you find a financial institution that think is a good small business lender, and you can say, hey, I'm gonna open my business, I want to build a business with them. Go ahead and put money in open up an account in that institution, and maybe get a loan, a small personal loan, or even the point of getting a small business loan. Go ahead and start a history with that financial institution. That, again, you want to have an institution that wants to grow with you. The next thing that you pay those loans back on a personal basis, they're going to have to, okay, now I want to entertain a small business credit deal. But to answer your question, definitely work on that personal credit. But business plan is extremely important, because just remember, it goes back to what I said earlier. I think I'm fading here. Said earlier is that financial institution wants to know how you're going to generate that revenue to pay them back and pay them back on time. So that business plan is extremely important.
So Don just said 640. The benefit of CDFIs is we are not completely supposed to look like a bank in terms of how we underwrite deals. And so we have a lot more flexibility around credit than a commercial bank would have. We can go a little bit lower than that. Just keep in mind, as we're thinking about credit, it is about risk mitigation. And how are you helping me think through risk? The lower your score, the higher the risk. And so you gotta help me with how am I offsetting that additional risk I'm gonna take on? Is it more collateral that you bring into the table? Is it that you had a bad episode, a health issue that impacted your credit? You gotta help us think through that so that we don't think of you as the highest risk. And I often tell folks that, as a suggestion, this is my $1,000 tip for today, don't just have one banking relationship. Always have at least two. If you only have one, your banker becomes complacent. They have all your business. They don't need to work for your business. They have it all. So if you have two, that at least gives them something to work for, but it also gives you a way to see if you're getting the best deal or not, because you got something to compare now. And turning back to what Don was saying, there is a difference between having a banking relationship and a bank account. There's a clear difference. You can have a bank account and your only relationship with that bank is the teller. But they don't know your business and they can't help you with your business. They're just transactional. You need someone in that bank that knows your business and they're thinking about your business and how to help it grow. So when you come in, they're ready for you.
Can I just add on credit, while you're building that credit and maybe you don't qualify for the traditional bank credit union or the CDFI, there are sometimes other resources that help you start building that credit. I know with the county, there's, I think it's called, it's North Mecklenburg, just Mecklenburg Lending Program. And so we will try to help you find other avenues while you're building that credit so that you can eventually qualify for these more traditional loans, or especially with CDFIs, getting ready for the more traditional banks. So let us help you find additional resources.
Okay, we're gonna have one more question and then we're gonna have a wrap up and Secretary Marshall will close us out.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. Most of you are banking professionals, some of you educators, government official. You've spoken a lot about small business loans and credit. What I haven't really heard, unless I've missed it, is where in the business stage are you looking to invest in exchange for equity? And what type of grant and kind of angel investor, just to put it in a term, kind of connectivity and resources are available for maybe a startup that doesn't fit the small business that most of you service?
Anybody?
Well, I would say that in many cases we're set up for loans. That's probably why we've been talking about that, as well as credit. Generally, the private equity, which is the investment side, is a different group of folks who are doing that work. It can be a stair step though, in terms of you start with a loan, you've demonstrated a history of paying that back and helping you grow a scale to the point where you're ready for PE investment. Generally, they want you to be in the tech field. They want something that's going to be highly scalable and they can get their money back out quickly with a high return. And so some of us I know have been thinking on the CDFI side about PE and having more PE investment opportunities. So that is an opportunity there. We just haven't talked about that much. You asked about grants. Grants are few and far between for for-profit businesses. There are programs that some cities will run to do grants. What I like to coach cities and programs on with grants is make it more like a forgivable loan. I think the professor had talked earlier about putting up your ring as collateral, and no one wants to take your ring. But if you make it more like a forgivable loan, then there's a way out without it completely destroying your company. But also it keeps you kind of on the hook to know we really need you to pay this loan back so we can reinvest it in another business.
Okay, before we close, I got some takeaways earlier from some of the panelists. By the way, I think you guys have received a Harvard education today, so I want to give a round of applause for our distinguished panelists. I really covered a lot of different bases in a lot of different ways. But here's some of the things and suggestions I got and learned from you all. Thank you. From Secretary Marshall, plan not to be a part of the 3-year plan. Because a 3-year plan is 25% of you won't be in business for the 4th year. So plan not to be in the 3-year plan. Plan to, and I can't remember which panelist said this, but plan to work in the business while you're also working on the business. Because if you're disengaged from the business, then you're dependent on other people to make it work for you rather than you being a part of it. Support the business before you allow the business to support you. Maybe that's one of the greatest mistakes we see is that, oh man, I'm doing great, how's it been, we're failing. My wife and I gotta live. Now you gotta support the business before the business can support you. So with that, I'm going to invite up Secretary Marshall. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for your advice and your direction and your clarity and all you do to help the citizens of North Carolina.
I do want to sincerely and deeply thank these panelists. This was something, we've had a Secretary of State conference yesterday and half a day today, and we realized we had this very expensive room in Charlotte that maybe we could get some more value out of. And that is why we brought the RISE program here. This was an experiment on our part. So I think it's turned out very well to see as many of you as are here. And I know that there are questions that you have not had answered. We don't get kicked out of the room until a little later, so there's time to network. What I'm about to say is based upon my experiences in rural counties, because I've been concentrating there. A part of this effort, RISE, has been to stimulate economic opportunity programs in counties. We have existing counties in this state that have loan programs, very low interest, forgivable loans for certain things that the county needs, the county wants, and business in general. So, here we are in Mecklenburg, one of the richest counties probably in the country, but there are networking opportunities here that exceed any in most other places, especially with angel investors in this town. I am not sure exactly where to tell you to go, but I do know that there are folks representing investors who are out there looking for opportunities like you might have. Now, most of them are going to be looking for something that's over $1 million in revenue, maybe even over $5 million in revenue, or a really, really brand new cool tech startup thing. It's a matter of getting in front of the right people. If it looks that good, they'll get other investors to come on in and help. There is angel investor out there. I am encouraging people in counties to do programs that are a combination of two things. A training program with a prize at the end. Cash for the people that do the best pitch. And one of my friends that runs a program like that tells me that the best thing, it's the saddest thing, but she feels like some of her best successes are when somebody comes up to the middle towards the end of the program and said, I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I don't think this is for me. Because it saves an awful lot of heartache, a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of grinding of teeth, and maybe even marriage and health for somebody that just really finds out that they're not really right to be an entrepreneur. I hope that your small business center here, you may have some angel investors or investor types who could be accessed through you. Good, she's shaking her head, yes. At the Secretary of State's office, we are business support. We don't have enough money to promote a lot of the things that are out there, which is point number 1 or 2 from this. So we appreciate all of you being here. I'd like particularly Tammy Everett. Tammy, where are you? She's been back and forth with black and white dress on. Where is she? See, I can't see the bright lights. Tammy Everett is the program director for RISE. Please feel free to contact her. That's where her information. We've got several Secretary of State employees here. Tim, John, Point, and Bill down here. I want to thank our Secretary of State employees. We had a whole bunch of them. A bunch of them have been packing up for this past day and a half, and we're going to look like a caravan going back to Raleigh. So if you see something that looks like the Clampetts coming to town, that's probably us leaving. So thank you all for being here. Hang around, talk to these people. This is your opportunity. I hope they've got the next half hour or so. There's Steve. Steve's our video guy. Doing great work. Thank you, Steve. We don't have an answer, but maybe we know people that, a matchmaker. We put you in the right direction, and that's what this has been all about here today. So I know a lot of you still have questions, and so I'm going to say class is adjourned, and we can just mingle for a while. Thank you.